All right, today we are diving deep into the wild world of homeowners associations. We've got a fantastic real-life legal drama for you, a classic showdown between one resident and her board of directors.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This story has everything. We're talking about a super controversial puppy potty on the roof of a high-rise, a TV news group broadcasting live from the pool, and a huge fight over how millions of dollars in resident money is being spent.
So what this whole thing really boils down to is a question anyone who's ever lived in an HOA has probably asked themselves. When the board does something that seems to fly in the face of the rules, who actually gets the final say? Well, this case gives us a front row seat to see how that gets answered.
So, the stage is set. We're looking at a formal administrative hearing. A resident, Donna Hulbert, has filed 5 separate complaints against her HOA board, which is led by its president, Greg Axelrod. And listen, this wasn't just some angry email chain. This was a full-blown legal proceeding to figure out who was right.
So for this explainer, we're going to zero in on the 3 biggest, most heated issues from that hearing. You can think of it like we're breaking down a few mini-trials. We'll look at the arguments, check out the evidence, and see exactly how the judge ruled on each one.
Let's kick things off with the first major fight, the puppy potty. Now, the board president's idea was pretty straightforward. Install an artificial grass area on the roof to give dog owners a safe, convenient spot. Sounds reasonable, right? While one resident said, not so fast, arguing it was a clear violation of the community's own rules. And this right here, this is the core of Donna Hulbert's entire case. Her testimony was basically this: the community's founding document, the Declaration, is totally clear on this. For her, it wasn't about whether the potty was a nice idea, it was about whether it was even legal to put it there in the first place.
You know, it's funny how these huge legal battles can come down to just a couple of words. And in this case, everything hinged on the definition of common elements. According to the HOA's own rules, if it's not inside your private condo unit, it's a common element. That simple definition became the legal bedrock for her entire complaint. So you've got 2 completely different ways of seeing the exact same thing. The resident is making a strict, by-the-book legal argument. The roof is a common element, the rules say no pet structures there, end of story. But the HOA president? He's making a practical argument. He's saying, look, this area was locked, no one used it, and this potty was an amenity that actually made residents safer, especially women walking their dogs late at night. Okay, so moving on from dogs on the roof, let's talk about TV crews by the pool. The next big fight was over a local news crew that was broadcasting live from the building's pool deck during the baseball postseason. The board thought it was awesome PR, but for Ms. Hulbert, it was a massive security risk. So, from her point of view, this was a huge problem. She argued that common areas are for residents, not for commercial companies with lights and cameras. She felt it put the building's security at risk, violated her right to just enjoy her home in peace, and on top of all that, she said the board never even held a proper vote to approve it.
And just like with the potty, this whole thing hinges on one key word from the rulebook: nuisance. The legal question wasn't just, was the crew allowed? It was, did their presence become an annoyance that actually interfered with residents' enjoyment of their own homes?
And really, this is the classic HOA dilemma, isn't it? For the resident, a news crew is a security risk and a nuisance, plain and simple. But for the board president, it was a total win-win. It was happening during a community party anyway, and he argued that the positive press was a huge benefit for everyone, making the building look like a great place to live.
All right, let's follow the money, because the third big fight was all about the budget. The complaint here was that the HOA was mismanaging its multi-million-dollar finances, specifically by not putting enough money into its long-term savings account, which is called the reserve fund.
So to get this, you got to know what a reserve study is. Basically, think of it like a financial checkup for the whole building. You hire experts, they come in, they look at the roof, the elevators, the plumbing, everything, and they create a savings plan so you have enough cash on hand to fix or replace that stuff when it eventually wears out.
So the resident was worried the board wasn't following the plan, right? But when you look at the actual numbers presented at the hearing, well, the evidence tells a different story. The HOA's own experts said they should be saving $45,000 a month, and the data showed the HOA was actually putting in a little bit more than that every month.
Okay, so after 2 long days of testimony, covering the puppy potty, the news crew, the budget, plus a couple of other complaints, how did the administrative law judge actually rule? Well, the final decision was pretty fascinating, and honestly, a little surprising. Let's look at the final scorecard. It's a split decision. The judge sided with the HOA on 3 out of the 5 complaints, including the big ones, the budget and the news crew.
The judge basically said, you met your funding goals and you failed to prove the news crew was a true legal nuisance. But, and this is a big but, the resident won on two key issues, the puppy potty and another one about violating open meeting laws.
And winning for the resident wasn't just about being right on paper. The judge's order had some real teeth. Number 1, the puppy potty had to go. Number 2, the HOA was fined $500 for the violation. And number 3, the board was officially ordered to follow the open meeting laws correctly from now on.
So if there's one big thing to pull from all of this, it's that in the world of HOAs, good intentions can't just bulldoze the written rules. The board president made a strong case that he was just trying to keep residents safe and promote the community. But the judge's ruling, especially on the puppy potty, sent a really clear message. The board can only do what the founding documents say they can do. The rules are the rules.
And that's really the question I want to leave you with. This case is the perfect snapshot of the tension at the very heart of living in an HOA. Do you create a great community by strictly enforcing every single rule to the letter? Or is it better to be flexible, to bend the rules a little for what seems like the greater good? As this whole saga shows, there's rarely an easy answer.